Here we go. Welcome to the Women Inspired Podcast. I'm your host, April Seifert. There is nothing more powerful than a woman who is inspired to action, and that's my number one goal, to inspire you, my listeners, to take action in your lives. Each week, I get to interview some of the most inspiring women, and I'm bringing those interviews to you. Let's do it. Friends, we've got a powerhouse on the podcast today. Jenny Evans is a speaker, award-winning author, and on-air expert on resiliency, stress, performance, exercise physiology, nutrition, and health. She is the founder and CEO of PowerHouse Performance and author of the book, The Resiliency Revolution, Your Stress Solution for Life, 60 Seconds at a Time. She's also the creator of PowerHouse Hit the Deck, the ultimate tool for combating stress and increasing fitness. Jenny has worked with thousands of C-suite executives, leaders, and employees worldwide to teach them how to increase their capacity for stress and recover from it more quickly and effectively. That's something I think all of us could learn how to do. Her corporate client list includes the Yale School of Management, AT&T, Estée Lauder Companies, Comcast, Nationwide, Ameriprise, Procter & Gamble, Target, holy cow, you name it. She's been quoted on NPR, in Health Magazine, Women's Health, Redbook, and she's been showcased on fastcompany.com, inc.com, entrepreneur.com, shape.com, and Elle.com. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology with an emphasis on psychology from the University of Minnesota, and she has been an American Council on Exercise certified personal trainer and group fitness instructor for over 20 years. In her spare time, apparently she has some, holy cow, she is a competitive athlete and races duathlons and is an aerial arts performer. A quick programming note before we get started, there are a couple of swear words in this one, so be advised. Welcome, Jenny.
Thank you. So great to be with you.
It is awesome to have you. I have been so excited to talk to you for so many days now since we got this officially on the books. So I'm really excited to kick this off, and I'm trying very hard not to get ahead of myself. So before I do that, I've told everybody a little bit about you and given them your official bio, but tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words.
Oh, that's a great question. I guess the best way to describe me is that I'm ridiculously obsessed with human performance. So I really feel like we are all given a set of talents and skills, and that it is our responsibility to try to develop those just as much as we can while we're here, and then share those with other people. So not only am I obsessed with continuing to try to develop myself, but helping other people really fully develop who they are and what gifts they have. Because when we start sharing those with the world and the people that we care about, it makes such a huge difference. And I mean, research has even shown that it's also just incredibly fulfilling and gratifying for ourselves. So I feel like I win, people win, everybody wins. It's great.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That is exactly the types of things that I've been saying as I've been interviewing these amazing women on this podcast. I'm like, you need to share your stories with other people. Big things happen when you start to share your story, and when you start to share what lessons you've learned and things that you have to share with other people, awesome things happen. I think that parlays really well into what you do for your business and in your career. So tell us a little bit about that.
I travel and speak around the world to mainly Fortune 500 companies on how leaders and employees can improve their resiliency to stress, their confidence, their performance, and as a side effect, their health. So my background is psychology and exercise physiology. And so a lot of what I teach people has to do with how your physiology really affects how you show up. So instead of always taking a psychological approach to this, I'm very much like, let's actually start with the physiological foundation, because if that's really messed up, that affects our brain and how we think, which then leads to the psychological issue. So I'm like, let's clean up and strengthen the foundation first so that you can actually then do the development as it relates to the psychology component.
Totally. That stuff is so much more interconnected than I think we give it credit for. And I think all of us have probably felt that when we're exercising more regularly, taking care of ourselves, drinking water is amazing. I mean, really those, right, sleep, eat, exercise, drink water. If you do those 4 basic things, it's incredible how different your body feels and how different your mind feels. You're so much more clear. So I think that link makes total sense in the way that you just spoke about it. How did you get started into this work? Is it something that you've always done?
Yes and no. I mean, I would say I got started more on a personal journey. So I went to college thinking I want to be a psychiatrist or a psychologist. So
many of us do, by the way. That was exactly what happened to me when I got into psychology. Totally took a different path, but keep going. Yeah. Sorry.
So I started teaching fitness classes as one of my many, many part-time jobs to try to afford school. But the thing is, I was not a jock. I was not athletic. I wasn't good at sports. I started teaching fitness classes because it was an extension of my dance background. My mom made me sign up for dance classes when I was 5 because that's how uncoordinated I was. She was like, girl, you need help. So fitness was sort of like an extension of my dance background initially, and then having to just learn the basics of anatomy, of exercise physiology, like my eyes bugged out of my head and realizing, oh my God, this is how the body actually works. And when we understand that, we can expose our bodies and brains to different stimuli and get them to adapt in some really incredible and amazing ways. So I just got totally addicted because just like I was finally learning why I was doing so many things that were not working in my life, because there's what we think makes sense, and then there's how the body and the brain actually work. Totally. And so I just benefited so much from that information. And then I just thought, okay, I'm just going to assume that a lot of people thought the same way I did a lot of the same things that I did, and got frustrating results. I want to share this information with as many people as I possibly can. So changed my degree to exercise physiology, was also minoring in American Indian Studies. So I got done 6 years later, totally expensive cluster. But in hindsight, it was mind, body, spirit. And I started my own business while I was in college, doing more personal training for a lot of women entrepreneurs that were really, really busy, didn't have a lot of time, but recognized they're their own best asset and they need to take care of themselves. So I would show up at their office or show up at their house, take them through a workout, eventually got connected through that to be the director of wellness for Aveda Corporation and its corporate employees. And they did a really good job of integrating wellness into everything that they did. So they would have me speak at these small meetings, these huge global meetings, and I fell in love with sharing ideas and information with people and seeing that look on their face when somebody has that aha moment, whether it's like, nobody's ever explained it to me that way before, or, oh my God, that's why that happens. So I was sort of like, all right, I want to do more of this. Estée Lauder then bought Aveda, so I started doing a lot of work within the Estée Lauder brand, and it just grew and continued to develop. It's been a really fun journey of constant growth and learning and unknown and stepping into fear and just being like, all right, what's the worst thing that could happen?
That's the question to ask yourself all the time, because so many times the absolute worst thing that could happen is really not that big of a deal. And if you think about what you'd be missing out on if you didn't just plow forward anyway despite that fear feeling that you might have.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So one thing that I want to call out that you just said that I think is really difficult for us all to remember is that we are our own best assets, and taking care of ourselves is important. It's not just a luxury thing that we should be doing. We are our own best assets, and we have amazing things to share with the world, with our careers, with the other people in our lives, and taking care of ourselves is huge. You mentioned something I thought that was really interesting that you just said is, as you were going through school, you learned about how the body actually works, how the mind actually works. What is one misconception that you feel like, that you think people might have that is not actually the case?
Yeah, where do we get started with that one? When we talk about that your body is your own best asset, I think on a certain level, like, people agree with that statement. But what I like to do is bring the science and the proof to that. And I think what that does is it gets rid of the guilt about people actually taking care of themselves, and gives them evidence and proof. Like, if you don't do this, that's a really bad business move. So it kind of like changes their perspective. As far as first, I could tell you a lot of things about how the body works versus actually a lot of times assumptions that we make. I mean, a huge one is that stress really isn't a psychology problem. It's a chemistry problem. That anytime that stress response is triggered, you've got hormones like cortisol and adrenaline and noradrenaline coming in that are like shutting off certain parts of your brain and turning on other parts of your brain. And they're making you crave high fat, high sugar foods. They're making you store more fat around your midsection. It's leading to insomnia. Another big one I struggled a lot with body issues, late high school and college. And I think one thing that people are blown away by is thinking that if you exercise on an empty stomach or go really long periods of time without eating, like, your body is just going to burn off all that fat, which is the 100% opposite of what happens physiologically, that these hormones are produced and your body actually goes into fat lockdown mode. And what you're really losing is muscle mass and water. And in the meantime, you're just frustrated beyond belief. Your energy's bad. Your focus is bad. So there are just so many things that just opened my eyes, that when you understand it, and also that the solutions can actually be really simple. It does not have to be a complete life overhaul. And in fact, that's another assumption that we make is, let's just change everything. Like turning over a new leaf, the brain freaks out when we're exposed to change. And what it does is it wants the comfort and safety of habit and routine, which is most likely those exact same things that we're trying to change. And so understanding how the brain interprets change, how it responds to change, how we actually make decisions. And when we understand that, there's a way of making change that you don't even have to be consciously aware of. It's the most eye-opening, burden-lifting thing that I share with audiences sometimes, where they're like, oh my God, why am I making my life so complicated? It doesn't have to be.
You mentioned at the beginning of your business being a little bit afraid and doing it anyway. I think I know the answer to this based on how you explained it, but did you have prior business experience before you launched into this and started your own thing?
Can I swear?
Sure. Yeah. Well, we'll flip it to explicit for this show. I don't care. Go for it.
Oh my God. I can't tell you 25 years later how many times I say out loud or just think to myself, I have no business running a business, because I wish I would have taken more business classes. I think I have been as successful as I've been because I'm incredibly purpose-driven and very passion-driven. I mean, I just think, like, if I had some inkling as to how to run a business, where could I be by now, and how many more people could I touch? So it's actually what I'm kind of working on for 2017 is, kind of figuring out, I don't know everything, and it's important for me to continue to learn and figure out, first of all, there's so much that I don't even know that I don't know. So how do you start figuring that out? Totally. And then once you figure that out, then who are the right people to help you learn that, or where do you go and find that? But I will say, I kind of don't let that stop me. If I will figure it out. And I think what has been helpful for me is that it can be really overwhelming to start a big project, or, I've done so many things like write a book, create a fitness product, where thank God I was as clueless as I was, because I probably never would have done it if I really knew everything that went into there. So sometimes I think success is a blend of knowledge and confidence, and then being a little bit completely unaware. But, also just figuring out, what, I don't have to do everything today. I don't have to solve everything today. What is one thing that I can do today? Like, what is one bite of this gigantic elephant? What's just like the one bite that I'm going to take today? And then tomorrow I'm going to take another bite. And before you know it, you're through it, you're in it, and you've learned so much.
It's huge. I think when you stand at the base of that mountain and you look at, and maybe you don't even realize it's a mountain. Maybe you think it's like a fairly decent hill that you're going to climb up, and maybe halfway through you realize you're on. Totally. You didn't
Totally.
I didn't see that part. Yeah. It's hard to get started, but you're absolutely right. And I've mentioned this before in previous interviews, but starting this process, I had no idea, zero clue how to launch a podcast. I had no idea how to do interviews. I'm still learning. That's one of my goals for 2016 or 2017. Holy cow, is to work on my interviewing skills. I had no idea how to do that. I had no idea how to edit an episode. No clue how to create this RSS feed, blah, blah, and make this go talk to iTunes and other people. But you're right. You don't have to figure that out. I just felt like, all right, I probably should have some content. I should find someone to interview. I'm going to do that first, and then I'll think maybe I'll figure out the rest of this stuff. But the other piece that you touched on was having that purpose behind it. When you've got a really big driving purpose that you actually believe in, you really, really believe it, it's amazing what you can figure out how to do because you feel responsible. Like, I have to figure this out because I need to make sure that I can get this message and this information to people because they need to hear it. It's incredible what you can learn.
Yeah. Because one of the things that I'm struggling with right now is I have to make a really important business decision in the next 30 days.
Oh.
And it's been really stressful. And it's something that I've, kind of been contemplating back and forth. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And my gut the entire time has been telling me what to do. So such an easy decision. But then there's, the fear that comes in, and sort of like that battle between your head and your heart. And ultimately, I know what's going to happen.
Yep.
Is that I'm going to go with my gut. My gut is always right. I mean, for all of us, it is that blend of, trying to be smart and strategic and safe while still knowing, all right, this is probably going to get a little crazy.
Yeah.
But I can't stay in the situation that I'm in because it's not in alignment with my values and my purpose. It is time for change.
Yeah.
It is time for change. And in fact, it probably has been time for change. And it's a super scary decision. I don't know how it's going to affect my business in the upcoming year. It could be the greatest thing that I have ever done. It could be a little bit sketchy, but what I really think, no, there is no other option for me. This is who I am. This is what I do. Failure is not an option forward. We're moving forward.
It can be so scary. Yeah. When you, even if you know how something is going to turn out, it can be completely terrifying to take that first step and know that, especially when it's a decision that you're making, that it really does rest on you, that the implications of it and the fallout and whatever happens afterward is due to that decision that you made, and that's on you. So not to put more pressure on you, because that sounds like a really intense situation, but it can be tough. It can be so tough.
Yeah. And I've got, like a wife, I've got a daughter who's about to start college, so there's a lot riding on it. But I also just think, again, man, if you just tune into, man, what is your gut? What is your soul telling you to do? And it's not always easy, but it's so, I guess it's not easy, but it does make things easy. When you're really trying to make decisions in your life, to really get clear on what do you believe? What do you stand for? And when you really take the time to try to get to know yourself and what you believe, it helps to clarify your decision-making process. It doesn't mean that decision's not going to be easy or it's not going to be scary, but just with 100% confidence, this is the right choice for me to be making. And you also know I'm going to be successful because this is who I am and what I believe.
Absolutely. If there's somebody who's listening to this that message resonates with, I will say I've heard this repeatedly, and one episode that is already out that you can go hear it again if you need to hear multiple people telling you the same thing. Stephanie Dowling's episode number 2, she talks about the same thing, where figure out what your personal pillars are. What do you stand for? Exactly what you said. And it does make it so much easier to make decisions, because does that decision that I'm about to make, does that road I'm about to go down fall in line with the way that the things that I stand for and the way that I want to see my day go, into the future. I think it does. It makes it easy, but not easy at the same time.
Yeah.
So you have a very public profile. This job is extremely public and out there, and you're living out loud. You're sharing your message with the world, and that is not easy. Another not easy thing for people to do. Did you ever feel nervous about living so publicly and being so open with the message that you're sharing? Was that ever anything that crossed your mind in the beginning? Or maybe it still does. I don't know.
Okay, I am really one of these people I don't know how to be passive aggressive or how to play games, which sometimes that's what the business world is all about. And I suck at that, but I'm just very much what you see is what you get. I hope that you like it, but if you don't, I get it, because not everybody is everybody else's cup of tea, but the people who I am going to vibe with, those are the people in my tribe, and the other people aren't. And I can't do anything to change that. And so I guess living a life of honesty and authenticity, first of all, it takes a lot less energy because you show up as yourself. But I think it also encourages and allows other people to show up honest and authentic too. And that's where the magic happens. That's when you start having really amazing conversations. That's when you really start addressing where you need help. Where do you need assistance? What are you doing great? What fears do you have? I mean, because what I've learned in this business, so traveling the world and speaking, what is most private is most universal.
Wow.
Of the millions of people that I've been in contact with, for the most part, we all kind of want the same major things out of life. And we all basically struggle with the same things out of life. It is the same wherever you go. And I think that's what allows me to just show up as me And I want you to show up as you.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. What did you say? What is most private is most universal?
What's most private is most universal.
That is so true. And unfortunately, what's most private is so hard to share with people sometimes, but maybe it is exactly what other people need to hear and the message that they need to hear from us.
But you talked about the importance of sharing our stories. Everybody has their stories. And when you just sort of like create a safe space for people to share their stories, it is just, for a lot of people, it's very a huge relief to be able to tell this story. And also for people to understand, you are not the only person that's feeling this way. You're not the only person that has been through a scenario, something like this. And there are other people out there who kind of know what you're going through, who can support you on your journey. Like, you don't have to do it alone. That's so isolating and lonely and scary to believe that you're the only person that is struggling or has fear or has doubt. You are so not.
I love that so much. And I'm hoping that is what these episodes that I'm putting together in this podcast that I'm doing, I'm hoping that that's what I can provide for other women, is one, a place to share stories, a place that's safe to come and say, I did something awesome and let me tell you about it. But in the same conversation, being able to say, and while I was doing that awesome thing, let me tell you the 3 ways in which I fell on my face because I didn't know everything and I wasn't sure how to do something and I made a mistake and I fixed it and it was fine and I figured out how to keep going forward. And I think a lot of the time we see successful people in their end product state. We see them achieve something. We see your launch happen. We don't see the late night where you're maybe banging your head against the desk because you can't get something to, go well with technology, or you can't, figure out how to, take the next step as part of the process. I think we see that end state and assume that it was a nice straight path to get there. And if I'm struggling, I must not be doing as well as other people are because look, they did it and it was so easy for them. Yeah.
It is like, it's 90% struggle. We live in a society that, it's all about this quick fix, instant gratification, this instant fame. Like, the internet is full of like these great, crazy overnight success stories. There is no such thing as an overnight success story. There really isn't. It's so much hard work. It's so much frustration. It's obstacles. It's doubt, lots of doubt. But yeah, just struggling through, slogging through. It's the roller coaster. There's ups and there's downs. And I try to remind myself there are no ups if there are no downs. But there's days where I'm like, how freaking far down can this thing go?
Totally. I'm going to ask a really specific question, but I think it's one that I have for you specifically, but I think a lot of us probably feel. Did you ever feel like an imposter? Hey, I'm going to go tell people how they can improve their lives. I'm going to help them achieve more. I'm going to help them, do better in their careers and as women. And who the heck am I to tell people how to do this? Did you ever feel that?
I wish you guys could see my face right now. So felt that for a long time. Okay, I grew up in a really, really small town in southern Minnesota. And for sure, for years, there were times when I'm about to walk out on a stage or into a conference room with the top leadership of Fortune 100 companies thinking, what the hell? I'm just little Jenny from Janesville. What am I doing here? What qualifies me to do this? But I think we all have that fear of that voice in our head that is self-doubt, the imposter. But there was also like the rational part of my brain said, okay, these people are really successful in their business and what they do and the knowledge that they have. I'm here because this is knowledge and expertise that they don't have. And so it's just as legitimate for me to be in this room right now because I am an expert at what I know, and they need my help and they need my services. And that really kind of helped me to start overcoming that. But yeah, there would be times where I'd be speaking and I'm like, somebody's going to ask a question and then the jig is going to be up. But I will also tell you, I'm the first person that will admit that's a great question. And I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's turn it over back to you, or to tell people, I love that question and I don't know, and I'm going to go home and research it, and I will send you the information, and say, thanks for opening my eyes to, something else that I needed to learn. So, there's still times, especially when have been traveling a lot and maybe not taking care of myself, that imposter thing starts to happen, where I just one little bad thing will go wrong and I'll just go all the way. Why am I even doing it? Does anybody even nobody even cares. This is such a stupid idea. Nobody's going to want it, and then I just realized wow, super irrational. Is that really the truth? And also, Jenny, sounds like you need a snack. Sounds like you need a little bit more sleep. You need to get some recovery.
Yes, absolutely. So I have to say thank you, first of all, for being open and honest about the fact that you do feel that and experience that, because I know it's something that a lot of us do. And it's one of those very private, but very likely universal things that we just don't like to admit, that we don't feel like we have the permission to be in a particular room or to take a particular stand or have a message to share. So I appreciate that you're willing to be open and vulnerable to say that you definitely felt that way, because I know a lot of us do, for sure.
Yeah.
So you're kind of expanding some of the work that you do now. A lot of the I guess places that I've seen you online, you have a lot of resiliency training out there, and how to be more resilient in the face of stress, not reduce stress, because I don't think, as you said in a lot of your work, I don't think the stresses on us are ever going to be reduced. We just need to work on the way that we react to them and how we're able to handle them. But also, it sounds like you're doing some expanding and working in some new areas. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. For the past couple of years, I've been getting these little nudges from the universe about, telling more of my story, working in women's confidence. And, I would just get really irritated and just be like, what? No, that's a total distraction. Resiliency. And I just wrote this book and I've spent all this time and energy and I did a TED Talk. It's resiliency, people. We're going to stay focused here. But these things kept coming up. And as much as I was pushing them away, finally, enough of them happened where I was like, oh, dear universe, you always know what is best. And I'm ready to listen. And so I was like, you know what? People are asking me for this confidence, empowerment stuff. It is also something that I get ridiculously worked up about, i.e. passionate. And as much as I felt like, I'm living on purpose with this resiliency, performance, and health, I had no clue of tapping into this whole idea of women's confidence and empowerment, just how much it ignited so much more of my energy and passion and commitment. And I'm a super anal control freak. And this is the first time in my life where I'm like, you know what? I have no idea where this is going to go, but something's telling me, again, my gut, that this is going to be cool. This is going to be big. Something amazing is going to happen. And I don't even have the capacity to know what that's going to be, but just start stepping into it. Just start moving forward. And again, when I talk about the universe, I think right now the timing is perfect. When you look at what's happening politically, what's happening globally with women's issues, same, with race. I think it's something that we thought we had addressed, but we haven't. There's still so much work that needs to be done when we talk about equality, whether it's racial equality or gender equality and, all of those things. So, I'm just going to have a blast with it. And this is the first time I've ever had like an actual vision for what this is going to be. And it's not me standing on a stage. It's way more intimate, couches, beanbag chairs, like this tribe of women sharing their experiences, and we're having conversations because confidence is something that is so individualized. And it's all about how we figure that out for ourselves. But what are some actionable things that we can do that improves our confidence and empowerment, but we can do that in a way that really speaks to ourselves and our needs and what that looks like for us.
Hell yes. Hell yes.
Yeah.
We are... I'm going in about 9 different directions, which happens to me frequently with this. But let me back up. I love that you were getting these nudges and being pulled in a direction, and you felt like you needed to swat them away for a little while. It resonates so much with me because I started my real business that I get paid to do about a year ago, and I kept getting pulled back into this work to help. My focus in graduate school was on gender equality and a lot of social issues, but mostly I focused on gender and women in leadership positions. And I kept feeling myself being drawn back into this work, again, largely given the way that the year had gone and a lot of what had made the news. I felt inexplicably pulled back in, but I kept swatting it away. And I kept thinking, no, it is a distraction because I'm self-employed and I need to provide for my family, and I can't do this thing that I make no income from and spend a bunch of time doing it. But in the end, I told my husband, I said, I want to focus some proportion of my time on the stuff that I just sit around the house when I've had a glass of wine and I want to thump on something and I'm getting on like a little tirade. I want to focus some of my time on that stuff that just naturally inspires my passion and gets me really going. I want some of my life to be pushed toward that. And maybe it'll turn into a job someday and maybe it won't, but I don't care. I get to have awesome conversations like this and talk to some of the coolest women. I have met some of the coolest women through this already, and I'm about 5 seconds in. So it's a neat thing when you finally just throw up your hands and say, all right, I'm willing to go with it. Let's do it. It's so awesome.
Yeah. I firmly believe, and I feel like this is my approach to life, is you need to work your ass off. But then you also need to pay attention to what the universe is telling you. And I struggle with that so hard because as somebody who's very goal-oriented and obsessed with performance, I'm always trying to force things to happen, and I create these timelines and I have these goals. But then part of it is girl, would you just relax? Because as much as you try to force things, the universe will not do anything until it's supposed to, and I feel like it's this dance that I'm always struggling to do of how much is the forcing and the work and the tension, and how much is just being open and listening and paying attention and, those nudges. Well, look over there. What is that? Where could that possibly go? And I find it the most magical thing in my life and also the most freaking frustrating thing.
Absolutely. I think it was in the book Big Magic or something like that, Brene Brown, she talks about how ideas and creativity, and this is a little bit metaphysical for me, but I sort of get the feeling of it, that they're floating around out there, and they come and find us at certain points in time, and they kind of tap us on the shoulder, and some of them become more bothersome than others. And those are the ones you probably pay attention to because they keep coming back and coming back. But they come and find us, and every once in a while you just get swept up in them and you have to go with it.
Yeah. A friend of mine recommended that book, and I got it. And I mean, I ate it voraciously, but there was one passage in there I just broke down crying. And I'm a hard ass. I maybe cry twice a year, and it's not that I'm like,
and I schedule it in, and so this is my biannual cry.
Oh my God, you just totally got me pegged. No, it's not that I'm against it or don't like it. I don't know. It's just my personality, and just something like broke open in me. And and again, this whole timing thing where I was just like, it was actually sort of like these tears of recognition. Like this is happening. This is now.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. I could pull it off my shelf and read it right now, and it would probably make me start crying right now.
That's so awesome. And I think a lot of that has to do with that motivation and that purpose behind it. Something you said a few minutes ago that I don't want to forget to call out, because I feel like there's a couple meanings there, and maybe you meant it that way, and maybe that's how you think about it, or maybe I'm totally reading into this. But you said you were living on purpose. And I think there's two ways to think about that. I'm living on purpose. I'm doing things intentionally, and I'm doing things thoughtfully and making my decisions in that way. But then second, living on purpose, meaning my purpose that's driving me, I'm living in alignment with it. It's the thing that is motivating me and the thing that's helping direct my day-to-day decisions. So either maybe it's intentional, or maybe it's directional because of the why behind your work. But I wanted to call that out because I think it's easy day to day to get swept up in just going along with things and not really asking yourself questions about whether the way that the majority of your days are going, is that the way that you want them to go? Is this the work you want to be doing? Are these the people you want to be around? Is this, those very fundamental questions? And you said it, and it just hit me like this huge ton of bricks. Yeah. Am I living on purpose? Both meanings.
Yeah. And it is both. I think the big one, the why, helps to organize the day-to-day living on purpose.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really like a symbiotic relationship between those two different levels of living on purpose.
I totally agree. I could talk to you for, I swear, the rest of the day. I feel like we'd have most of, a lot of problems with the world figured out if we just kept going.
Some lights in a room and get some wine going, done.
Yeah, we'll just set like 3 big problems that we're just going to solve, and most of them, I think, I think we could have them done. Yeah. I want to hear about your next goal. You talked a bit about focusing on women's confidence. Maybe it's something around that. What does this look like for the coming, say, year or so?
Yeah. I actually have 4 goals for the upcoming year.
Love it.
Some of them are professional, some of them are personal, but one of them was this big decision that I'm going to be making soon that I don't want to say yet.
No worries.
I have figured out I need a new hobby. Something has happened to me the last couple of years where I've just gotten to be a really boring person. Like I work and I clean. I get my jollies from cleaning and organizing. Cleaning gives me the biggest thrill. And I've just realized what happened there. So I'm going to be finding a new hobby. I've been having some chronic pain issues almost my whole entire life that I've just been dealing with. And finally, I'm just like, you know what? What I've been doing is not really working, and I really need to take a different approach, which is going to take a lot of time and a lot of energy to try to find, again, what don't I know? How do I find the right people? How long is it going to take for me to get in there? But I'm like, all right, enough driving on a flat tire, like pull the freaking car over and change the dang tire. And also volunteer. I've kind of been looking for some opportunities, and again, the universe conspired. And not only is it going to be a chance for me to be working with women that have been homeless, that are new mothers, but also working with that staff and also adding more diversity to my life. I've been reading a lot more about racial injustice the past year and a half, and it's just been so eye-opening. And I'm a little bit embarrassed by how small my social circle is, and it needs much more diversity in a lot of different ways. So I'm really looking forward to that. But 2017 is also just going to be the year of women in confidence for me, and I'm just so beyond excited. But there's also a lot of the unknown. But man, I'm running full speed right off that cliff, and you build your wings on the way down and a net will appear.
I totally agree. I'm a big Band-Aid ripper. I feel like I don't want to sit there and hang out and wait. I want to rip the Band-Aid and go. I interviewed Lynn Broberg as one of my initial podcast interviews, and she is a much more experienced skydiver than I am, but both of us skydive. And one of the things she talked about was, the plane ride up is just really painful because you're just sitting there in anticipation, and there's not a thing you can do. You're just crammed in this plane, and it's hot and it smells bad, and there's nothing that you could do, and there's nothing worse than that. The most amazing thing is finally getting to stand up and climb toward the door and just jump. It's so great. Huge Band-Aid ripper. So I totally can understand that. Thinking about wrapping up today, what is something that you can leave my listeners with? Maybe it is a parting piece of advice. Maybe it is one specific action they can take. I'm going to leave it really open because I feel like your background and the messages you've shared are just so applicable and so broad that I'm just going to leave it to you to decide how you want to, what you want to leave us with.
Okay. I think it would really boil down to asking yourself the question, what is one thing that I can do today that is going to get me closer to some goal, whether it's a personal goal, whether it's a professional goal. Don't think of all the things that you need to do. And not that, you shouldn't have a plan and a strategy, but that can be paralyzing. But to just, in the moment, okay, what's one thing that I can do that's going to get me closer to where I'm trying to go? Because honestly, it's hard to do much more than that. You can't live in the future. You can't live in the past. The only thing that exists right now is this present moment. So what is one thing that I can do right now? And it doesn't have to be huge. Because it's those little things that we consistently do every day to get us where we're trying to go. Whether it's taking care of your health or making a business decision or ending a relationship or starting a relationship, being a parent. Just all of those big, complicated things that if we can just break it down into, it is big, it's complicated, but I can't do all of it. So just what's one thing that I can do right now?
Perfect. So good. I have one last question for you. That is the question that I ask everybody as I finish up their podcast episode. I'm putting together a Spotify Power playlist of very inspirational, motivational songs, and there's a very wide variety forming on this playlist. But I want to ask for your contribution to that playlist. So what is your favorite motivational song?
I'm going to say with both confidence and embarrassment, Britney Spears, Work, Bitch.
Yes! It's on my gym playlist. It's still on there.
Oh, awesome. Like, it is my go-to song when I'm working out and I might be like dogging it a little bit, or, days when I'm in my home office and I might be procrastinating. Like, that is the song that just gets me focused and like, all right, forward momentum. Here we go. You better work, bitch.
That is freaking fantastic. I love it so much. So if people want to get in touch with you, where can they find you? If they want you to, come speak at an event, or they want to learn more about you or see some of your work, where can they find you?
Yes. Probably the easiest way is if you just Google search Jenny Evans, PowerHouse Performance. The website address is ph-performance.com. I am on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. Just trust me, it's not hard to find me. I'm on YouTube. But I would love to connect. I mean, one of the things I love about being an entrepreneur is that I get to make a lot of decisions and do what I want to do. The biggest downside for me is that it can actually be pretty lonely sometimes. And I love connecting with other human beings. So you guys find me on Facebook. If you're in the Twin Cities area, that means coffee. That means wine. That means going out for good food, going for a walk, whatever, I mean, like, April, like you talked about, like how many amazing women you have met in this project. And, with just in the past year, it's the same thing. There are so many tremendous people. A lot of them happen to be women. But just, having that tribe and that unity and that support system. I mean, it's about our uplifters. Those people that make you more than you are and, will just listen to you or just give you a kick in the pants or let you climb onto their shoulders and boost you up to where you need to go or how you can be that person for somebody else. I mean, at the end of the day, as human beings, we are designed to connect and have relationships. And so I think it's important not only for me, but for all of us. So yeah, I just went off on a really weird tangent and I sound like a really lonely, reclusive person.
You don't.
Please.
Please be my friend. Come have wine with me.
Give me a reason to put on real pants and leave my house.
Yoga pants are so awesome though. Oh, they're so wonderful. They're like the uniform of being an entrepreneur is you can wear yoga pants.
Totally.
I love it. I love it. You guys can't see that, but she just showed me her yoga pants, and she is in fact wearing them. I'm in jeans, which is really odd for me since it's a Monday. I shouldn't be. But anyway, I can't thank you enough. I cannot thank you enough for coming on, for being open, for sharing your story, for being honest about some of the not so perfect, polished parts of you and of your journey. It has been fantastic getting to know you. It's been awesome getting to hear your story. I know for a fact that there are a million things that we're all going to take away from this interview. So can't thank you enough. It has been fantastic. And I will say, I would love to invite you back on, and at some point in the future, as you start to launch this new part of your business, as things start to roll and gain momentum, and we get to see all the exciting things that you're up to later in the future, I'd love to have you back on and hear more about it.
For sure. And I want to say thank you for the work that you're doing. Like you said, it takes bravery and courage to listen to those messages in our life where you're like, this is not how I make my money. Well, yeah, not now, but maybe in the future. So I'm glad for people like you that brings people together and creates a sense of community and sharing, and how can we all support each other, and what can we learn from each other too.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate hearing that.
Yeah, you go, girl.
I hope you got as much out of this interview with Jenny Evans as I did. It is always such a wonderful thing to connect with someone who is so willing to be vulnerable and to share themselves with us in such an authentic way. I'm just blown away by her. If you know someone who might need to hear Jenny's message of authenticity, please share this episode. And if you're as excited as I am about her message, please visit her at ph-performance.com to learn more about her important work. Friends, I'll be honest, I've had some ups and downs this week, but like Jenny mentioned, without downs, there are no ups. So if anything, it has made me even more dedicated to you and to building this podcast and this community into something that elevates us all. You can actually help me do that by sharing this podcast with others who might benefit from it, by leaving me a rating or a review on iTunes. Thank you to everyone who's done that so far, or by just sending me feedback through my contact form at aprilseifert.com. This project has been one of the biggest joys and one of the biggest challenges that I've ever taken on, and I am so honored to be on this journey with you. Until next time, have an inspiring week.